Hello, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. And Growth Drive is a system used by business advisors to drive client profits, growth, and value. Now, we're also a community. Every week we get together to talk about all things business advisor, everything clients, cases, things we're seeing out in the world. Now, tune in here to this podcast, and you can join the conversation by scanning this QR code. Passcode 867-5309. Jump into the conversation. Everyone's welcome. We're looking forward to having you. So here we go. On with the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Virginia is now represented well. It was present before, but now that Rick is here, it's represented.
The great state. Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming up and seeing you. Mike, Rick, is Rick going to be participating in that event as well?
Maybe.
Actually, hey, Rick, welcome.
Yes.
I'm not going to put you on the spot, but and this is incredibly informal, but I'd love to. We don't know each other. I'm thrilled that you've decided to join us. Can you just share a couple of sentences about who you are and why your clients hire you?
Sure.
I mean, if you figured that second part out.
The rest of us haven't. Sure. Quick story. I grew up in Virginia, went to Colorado in 1989, stayed in Colorado until 2022. And in 2012, I had come back to Virginia for my 40th high school reunion. Fell back in love with the girl I took to the prom. She convinced me to move back to Virginia, and I'm here. So I had about 45 clients out in Colorado, and God bless COVID that helped me teach every client they don't need to see me in person. And every one of them has stayed with me since. With the moving going around, I haven't accepted very many clients. But one of the reasons I do believe they stay with me is I care much about them. I have a focus on tax planning strategies. I have a focus on CFO type analysis to help the clients reach their strategic goals.
Nice.
And, I most of my clients have been with me for about 15, well, I'm going to say 10 to 12 years. And I have not accepted that many new clients. So the better question is, why do they come to me? Why do they stay with me?
Why don't
they never leave? But, I'm ready to branch out somewhat, continue to help. And that's the quick story.
Cool.
I've been a CPA since 1979. I've also worked in various CFO roles. So I've got quite a bit of experience in those type areas. And that's my passion. Tax returns are a dime a dozen. A lot of people can do them, but to actually get the strategies implemented, to help them with some strategic thinking and how to increase the value of their companies, that's where my enjoyment is.
Rick, from your lips to the CPA industry's ears, yes.
As a recovering CPA myself, there are very few of them out there who actually do strategy.
Yeah.
Most of them are cranking the meat grinder.
Right.
Now we have CPAs are very well represented on this call
Today.
Mike, Barry, Eric, Rick, Ed, who else is a reformed?
Reformed, that's stretching it.
Right.
Like covering maybe. I don't know. That's
So,
Rick,
asking a lot. Welcome. Thank you for that. What's on
Thank you.
everybody's mind this morning? You know that mine is chock full.
So George, I know you sent me out something about moderating a panel,
Yes.
right? And so I reached out to the folks who are on my panel. I don't think I've heard back from any of them.
Well,
Are any of those
consider the cattle prod. You have just let the dog slip the leash, man.
I don't want to be unprepared, for this. I don't want to walk into it cold. And I know people are somewhere on vacation, stuff like that, but
Mike, know you, love you. You're a high C. You are literally on my list right here, like guys who I know are going to want to be very well prepared. You are top of the list because I've taken care of the other things. You are number one. We'll get together after this call. Sound good? It's very straightforward, man. There's nothing.
no, I understand that. I just, it was crickets, and I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, if I'm a moderator, I guess it's good to be a high C. I think that's a compliment. I don't know how to take that.
That is a compliment, man.
I always liked drinking high C when I was young. So
Dude,
orange high C was the best. Yeah.
See, Rick, you
Mike's
can
gonna
see
give you
this
the
is a
shepherd's stuff.
highly sophisticated group here.
I'm
Guys,
very
I've had-
impressed.
I've had, I've had
so the
between
bar
8
is
and 10
being
hours
wrecked.
of uninterrupted sleep for 3 nights in a row. And so that this is
I referred Rick to this group.
thank you very much, Mike. Mike, I introduced
you're
you to
not
someone.
welcome.
You're not welcome. Mike, Mike, our number one source of introductions. Thank you very much, Mike. Yes, I track him. Yes, Mike knows. Mike gets BCC'd on more stuff. I'm sorry about your inbox, man. Maybe you should get a separate email address because I practice the advisor's pledge, right? And so I want Mike to know exactly what's going on. If he doesn't read my emails, it's not my fault. So we're going to have some fun, guys. The agenda is for our sins. There was just a template update on our, it doesn't matter, on our website, and some of the font sizes have changed, but that agenda is set pretty much in stone. And we're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to start with AI. We have done multiple walkthroughs, Larry and Andy and I. You'll have super facilitated. But the agenda, we're going to start with AI on Monday morning. Those of you who come in on Sunday, please join us in the blue ballroom.
What is?
And
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, George. You said if you come in on Sunday, and then they got.
Yeah, we're having an AI. First of all, on Sunday evening, let's start with Sunday evening. On Sunday evening, we'll do some kind of pickup. There's a new burger joint called Joyland. It's catty corner to the hotel. We'll find something to do. Charleston is very hard to get restaurant reservations at the last minute. So we'll find something fun. I'll put out on APB, hey, whoever wants to join us. Last year we hit a barbecue joint and had a ton of fun. And maybe we'll hit the same place again. Who knows? On Monday morning, we're kicking it off with a workshop on AI. And we'll discuss Claire a little bit, but you guys all have access to Claire anyhow. What Andy Weevil, who is one of our resident AI experts, is going to lead a session, and this is going to be before I start cranking up the heat. It's going to be a very relaxed. How do you create workflows? So very well designed processes that you can deploy, that you can customize and deploy with your client. We want to do X, so we're going to go through, and you'll leave that room with, the goal is 3 workflows that you will have created that you can apply with your clients in your practice right away.
Hey, George.
Yes, Mike.
Has anybody here talked with Andy about his process for workflows? Has anybody here seen that?
He posts he's really great about sharing it.
So I've had the opportunity to interact with him live. So like there's a big difference for me, not that I'm old. I'm just well seasoned, right? There's a big difference for me about seeing something in a written format. Nice. But I'm here to tell you that after an hour talking to Andy about his posting in the Growth Drive community about workflows, I would estimate it's saved me 6 months of business development on some projects I'm working on. I mean, when I look back at the process of how, as someone who's done a lot of business and has a lot of source material, it was revolutionary for me. I'm here to tell you that is going to be probably the most, there's going to be a lot of valuable stuff, except for one in the afternoon on Monday. But like, that's going to be probably the most valuable thing. If you are into developing new business processes, if you're looking to use legacy content that you have from years and years of being an expert, I'm just thinking of everyone here on the call, right? It is a game changer. I've been able to take stuff that I worked on 25 years ago that I knew I wanted to create into a newer, fresher, more appropriate document. I was able to upload those documents because I'm paranoid and I save everything. I was able to upload those documents and in 5 minutes, using what Andy taught me, repurpose them, integrate them with my book, which is also uploaded onto a private GPT. It's worth every penny if you can be there just for that.
Thank you, Mike. And would it be helpful? I was about to launch it. I was over plenty of sleep. Like I said, I've had 3 nights of uninterrupted sleep. Don't drink wine and lots of caffeine. Would it be helpful if I walk through the agenda? You guys, this is your.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's 1 yes. Who seconds the motion? All right, we got 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Okay, great.
All
Pull
the
it up.
high seas. All the high seas. Second one.
Well, guys, it's going to be super fun. And
Pull it up.
let's talk right now. We're posting this stuff today. Catherine, unfortunately, got trapped up in, she went home for the weekend and anyhow, she's on her way back. So we'll be posting a bunch of resources for everyone who's coming. Dress code. Be comfortable. You will be working. You will be moving. You will, just be comfortable. No, you don't need to wear a blazer. If a t-shirt's your thing,
No sweatpants, Eric.
no sweatpants.
I was,
All right, fine.
I was planning
That's our
on
standard.
tight yoga pants.
We all want to see that. It's not on me. Okay. So share it on the screen. Mike just suggested I can do this.
So, George, is the temperature in the room's going to be below 50 again?
You know what's funny?
Let's hang.
I walked into the room in Denver. I want to give a shout out to our friends at BEI. They put on a fantastic conference. It's very different. There are 3 exit planning conferences every year. There's the EPI conference, which is about 1,000 people, and is a terrific. If you're shopping for things, it is a terrific opportunity to go and meet a bunch of vendors and a bunch of fellow exit planners. BEI is more of knowledge development. They're very similar to us in philosophy. BEI is tightening up. I think there were over 100 people in the room, and then there's the IEPA in Boston. Typically, their conference is about 50, and that's a boutique, also knowledge development. So they're all very well run. Brings me to we were at the BEI conference. Thank you, Klatsch and team, for a fantastic hospitality. We got a ton of shout outs, guys. We're going to be adding people to this community from them. But we walked into the room and it was 59 degrees on the first one. Literally, I walked in. I was like, "Oh, I'm in a vest."
It was a long sleeve shirt plus.
Digression. So I'm going to share my screen and I will focus. I'll take my AD.
Stop. Focus.
Ed, we're going to have to bring sweaters. Ed, we got to bring sweaters.
So the room will be cooler, but please be comfortable. Okay. We're among friends, right? And there would be about approximately 60 people in the room and you're among friends. So
Just don't be too comfortable.
Yoga pants and a halter top. That's what I'm wearing.
Eric.
Hey, George,
Yes, sir.
just want to say something that
Rick.
is good in my history. My grandparents were from Charleston, South Carolina.
You go.
Every summer growing up, I vacationed on the Isle of Palms.
Nice.
There's a restaurant downtown Charleston called Henry's.
Yeah.
That was my grandfather.
Get out. Really? Henry's
Wow, that's absolutely awesome.
I can't see Henry's from here because there's a building in the way, but it is not 200 yards from where I'm standing. Outstanding, Rick. Henry's is an institution.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Are we going to need George, are we going to need our rain suits? Do I get a rain?
It
doesn't look
that is a great
bad.
question, Barry. And Barry, good morning. How are you? You're doing okay? Feeling good? Awesome. Good.
I'll be better at noon.
Barry was attacked by the ground. Vicious gravity. The weather forecast is improving. So it is not raining right now. It was supposed to be Noah, biblical flooding. Everything's sandbagged. All the barriers are out, and there's nothing, big fat nothing going on. Luckily, okay. And guys, we intend to leave the hotel, but you can go to the hotel and never leave. So, all right.
Sounds like a song by the Eagles.
It does. Nico, don't make me start singing. Maybe like the accounting today. We'll start introducing.
Is it like the Continental and John Wick?
Okay. So AI for advisors, then the welcome session. We will be announcing the Growth Drive Member of the Year. Mike Desiato is the Growth Drive Member of the Year for this year, and he will be presenting. I know, Mike, I said I was going to call you. He's going to be doing a brief presentation. It's super to the proud recipient. And we'll talk about, I'm going to cover where were we, where are we, and where are we going in the welcome session. Okay. And we'll tee it up. Something to keep in mind, Larry and Andy and I are going to be demonstrating facilitation skills. So throughout, when you think about running these more complex, think of an annual strategy retreat, a full day annual strategy retreat, and the 5 Ps of preparation, you're going to see that in action. And I will point that out during the welcome. So you'll be experiencing, for those of you who are looking to bone up your facilitation skills, I'm not going to flatter myself, but Larry and Andy are super experienced and very, very skilled facilitators. And it is a skill. All right. Then I'm going to interview Beth LaGuardia from the Authority Company. They have a series of brands under them: Forbes books, entrepreneur books, etc. So, but they are all about personal authority, and we're going to talk about personal brand. And we'll segue into our very own Mike Garrison from Can I Borrow Your Car, who is going to lead a workshop. He's going to present some concepts, and then you are going to be developing and working on client acquisition and developing what I call strategic COIs. Not Mike's term. He has his own terminology, intellectual property, and it's fantastic. I use Mike's system, and it is terrific. And then our very own David Parsons. David's on this call. Good morning, David. David has had 2 successful exits, and he's going to be interviewed by our also Barry Goodman on this call. Thank you, Barry. David's exits included a sale to a third party and an internal family transfer, both of which were successful by David's metrics. Very important, right? By David's metrics. And we're going to get into the good, and if there's any, so that's going to, I cannot wait. That's going to be a fascinating interview. Then we have a bunch of reservations at area restaurants. Those are being posted today. So please, you'll get an email, but go into Circle and you'll be able to sign up. There are restaurants around town, most of them within walking distance. Some you may have to jump an Uber. But those were very, very popular last year. So we're doing that again. So it's an opportunity to expand your network, break bread, relax and have a good time. The next morning, we have a nice long breakfast, guys. These are pit stops, right? So we have several designed pit stops. And breakfast is a great opportunity, again, to sit down, meet someone who you don't know, get to know them. It's funny, like Rick here, it's funny how it's a small world. We have common connections, and you never know who you're sitting next to. And then we're going to move into a panel. And the panel is going to be interviewed and discuss. Andy Weevil is the discussion leader. And we have 3 panelists, including Patricia Malone, who has a PhD in strategic capacity, about strategic capacity and really pulling apart the white paper, this concept of strategic capacity. All right, I'll do a brief intro and then we'll toss it to our panel. After which, so the panel will they'll have an onstage conversation, and then there's a lot of time for question from the room, from you. Okay, so that's an hour, and then we'll take that concept of strategic capacity, and we're going to look at it through 2 lenses. One, for people who want to understand how strategic capacity, how we take control and increase strategic capacity using the software, using Clarity. That's going to be room 1. Bring your laptops, iPads, notebooks, whatever you use, okay? Please. That's going to be in the email. And then in room 2, we're going to workshop it from a non-technological perspective, more of an in-person perspective. How do we collaborate to increase strategic capacity? And we'll come back together because, we all have FOMO. And we're going to spend a full hour exchanging learnings and discussing this as a group. The great thing about having 60 people is we are maintaining this in-person close feel, okay? I found myself when I was in Denver last week constantly counting how many people were in the room and looking at the quality of the conversations. And even at pretty big crowd, it was high quality discussion. Then pit stop number 2, lunch. Lunch is included, and we have a full hour. During that hour, actually, I know that Beth LaGuardia from Forbes, so we have fantastic sponsors, and many of you are on this call. David Parsons, Mike Garrison, Ed Wanke. I can't see everyone's pictures. I can only see 6 pictures. So if I didn't mention you, it's because I can't see your face and I'm not being prompted. But we have terrific sponsors. Okay. And during lunch is an opportunity to meet the sponsors. Be Ready Exits. Who's going to be there? Hollenden. I just held up the pen. Christine Hollenden is not able to make it, but she is sending her right-hand person, Lucy. So we have tremendous sponsors. The Madison Insurance Group is going to be in the room. And after lunch, we're going to move into our next panel. Same format. Interview, questions from the room, break into two sections. One is going to look at this is actually, I need to update this a little bit. We've tightened up the definition. Who wants to see what it looks like behind the scenes? This is what it looks like behind the scenes. So our second, how do we increase our reach and relevance? And guys, we're going to look at it. The people we've selected for the panel bring 3 different business models to the stage. We have Anna Halliburta representing the firm with partnership documents and equity and all of that fun stuff. We have Tim Rohde is on this panel, and Tim is evolving into a firm model, but right now he's in a structured collaboration. Let's call it structured collaboration model. We're doing things like many of you do. I'm thinking of Larry Prince, for example. The client gets one bill, has one lead interface, but there are people who think of it as 1099. Cool model. And then Wayne Lorgus, who is fantastic, one of my favorite people. Wayne is coming in. He's a fractional CF, and he is going to represent the collaborative solopreneur perspective. So we'll have this. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. Then we'll break into 2 rooms. One is, okay, how do we use the software as a collaborative team, whether we're inside a firm, or how do we use the software as a collaborative team? And the other is, what are best practices for collaborating? I'm a 2, you're a 3 and a 4, et cetera. This other person's a subject matter expert. And what are best practices for collaborating? And part of the handout, you're going to have 3, I have a lot of documents, but the 3 documents that kind of track throughout are the advisor's pledge, the 1 to 5. Are you a 1 or a 5? And to refresh, a 1 is a talker, right? I want to talk about growing your business. A 2 is an educator. I'm going to actually start teaching you about growing your business. A 3 is an architect. I'm going to help you create a plan. And a 4 is the general contractor. I am going to help you turn that plan into reality. And then, I said, are you a 1 or 5? 5s are fractional. And we see it's a narrower band of people in the room. We see people, fractional is interesting because it can be anything from 10 hours a week to some people have a desk at the client's location and spending a lot of time. So those are going to be terrific workshops. Let me go back. Where were we? We were here. Okay. Is this all making sense? So you can see we're on a journey. AI is, but then we get into personal brand, leveraging our personal brand for client acquisition, understanding strategic capacity, and how might we discuss this with clients? Why is it important to clients? How do we use the software? How do we collaborate? And you see how this journey is progressing. And then we move into, okay, what are different models for working together? And how does that play out? Go back in the software, best practices. We'll come back in plenary and discuss it again. And then we get into, I was on the phone yesterday. One of the people who's going to be in the room is Tracy Gillespie. And Tracy ran the business, I hope I'm describing it correctly, but she ran the business advisory efforts for Wells Fargo advisors for years. She's fantastic. Okay. She's going to be in the room. And when she and I were chatting last night, this is the part that it actually surprised me. Thank you, Eric, that the work we're going to do on Wednesday morning is the thing that excites her the most. Now, before I get there, on Tuesday night, this is a first. We are hosting a dinner. It's at the Charleston Aquarium. We have a few spots for spouses. So if you are bringing your spouse, please let me know. We have limited spots. And if you'd like your spouse to come, your spouse may run screaming the other way. I can't blame them. But we're going to do a hosted dinner at a catered dinner at the aquarium, guys. It's going to be very, very fun. So that brings us to I'm excited. And Fletcher Brown from BEI is our keynote, and he is going to talk about, I'll leave. He's really interesting speaker, and he's an interesting guy. He's a great guy. You're going to love him. Okay, that brings us to Wednesday. So I teased that with what Tracy was excited about, and she is excited about this, the future of business advisory. Okay, we have a pit stop. We start the day with a pit stop. Let's fuel up. Let's create new connections, rekindle. And then we're going into our first panel, which I'm going to be the discussion leader. And this is Eric. This is thank you. You know, Eric came to me over a year ago.
Last year at the summit.
Last year, okay, it was last year at the summit, and said, you know, I would love to form a committee. Would it be okay if I form a committee to look at the future of the profession and the business of advisory? Eric, let me hand it over to you.
Yeah, it's what we've been talking about. We talk about it on this call from time to time. Where are we going and what's this going to look like? And the comparison I always use is, 40 years ago, there were stockbrokers. There was no wealth manager. There were stockbrokers. And now we have CFPs and wealth management and a whole different profession that's really helping people get to their goals, not just trading their stocks for them. And it's the same concept in our, where are we going? What's the end state look like? The next state, I shouldn't say not end state. What does the next state look like? And how do we get there and be thoughtful about it and be directive about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. And Larry made the point yesterday when we were doing our run through, yet another run through, which is great, right? We just keep honing this thing. That in some ways, the future is now.
Yeah.
We need to be planning for the future because AI, but AI is a very powerful tool. Some people are like, oh, no. AI allows you to present, to go toe to toe with anyone. Okay, with anyone, not to use any names, but you can go toe to toe with anyone. So in some ways, and Larry said yesterday, really the future is now. The future is also down the road, but we are already grabbing the future by the lapels. So that's going to be a terrific conversation.
I'd just add, George, change is happening faster than it ever has.
Yeah. And I mentioned it is. It is. And as a community, what's great is we are shining a light. We are shining a light and saying, okay, there aren't dragons. We're going to forge ahead. And there are technologies, techniques, tools, methodologies. There are things that we can adopt and coalesce around that are going to help us deliver client wins. That's the name of the game, right? Delivering client wins. Okay. Now that is going to flow sort of naturally into a live coffee Klatsch. All right. And where'd my spreadsheet go? And in the live coffee Klatsch, I got to get to Wednesday. This is, I hate to use the word complicated. There's a lot of thought that went into this. So we're going to go into a live coffee Klatsch and we're going to dig deeper on several points. And there'll be some table discussions. And then we'll always surfacing your questions, your insights, your experience. Because if we think of 60 people with 30 plus experience, who does math here? We're basically at 2 millennia of experience in the room, I think, and we intend to leverage that experience. By the way, Joseph, you suggested, and I have started researching what might it look like to record these events. The first quote I got still makes me catch my breath, and very hard to record table conversations, right? Although someone can put their phone out, put it on the middle of the table and hit record and AI will do the rest. Okay. We're going to roll into a live coffee Klatsch. And then on that live coffee Klatsch, then we're going to start doing, we have another structured workshop. Okay. And it's titled Stronger Together. And we're going to start recording, amplifying the key learnings from the summit. So please don't bring your luggage to the room on Wednesday morning. Give it to the bell captain, whatever we're supposed to call them now, to the hotel staff. That's safe. And we're gonna keep going until we wave the checkered flag. I'm using the checkered flag analogy for a reason. We are going to keep charging forward through the end, and we will wrap it up as you should every facilitated session. We're going to wrap it up professionally, ensuring that each of your individual goals for the summit has either been met or recorded for future action. each one of you individually. All right. Very, very important. And that's all we're going to do. That's it. That's all. And we're going to, and then we'll call it. I will wave the checkered flag and we'll have it in the books. And I could not be more excited. Okay. So thank you for giving me the mic for half an hour here. Did that make sense, everyone? David, that makes sense to you, man?
I'm pumped.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm psyched to see you again, man. Any questions about what we just covered, guys? Does that make sense? Anything I'm missing? We can't do everything, but I hope we're doing enough.
Hey, you're doing enough. I'll even go a little deeper than just I'm pumped. I'm pumped because obviously I'm excited to see you and some others I do know and get to know some others. But man, for me, this is so critical. As you know, I only started Value Path Advisor 6 months ago, actually April. So, this is all really, really critical information and the workshops and being able to learn from all of you who have so much more experience than I do, all of that. It's really, I was thinking, the other day, like, man, what would I do if I didn't have this summit and I didn't have a growth drive? It would be a much, it would be a much harder climb, getting started. So I'm so thankful for you, George, and what your mission is all about. And, for a guy like me who understands, just because I was successful as a business owner, absolutely does not guarantee I will be a successful advisor. So, as far as advisors in the advisory space, I'm starting at zero. So, this is really, really important for me. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to go and grow and learn.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you. I am psyched to have you in the community. And you remember the sidebar you and I just had about you and other professionals like you. You bring a relatively, for those of us on this call, a relatively unique perspective as a successful CEO and successful. I love the two exits. I can't wait for your interview. But you bring a ton, David. I would don't sell yourself short, man.
Yeah, no, I'm really proud of what I've achieved for sure, but that doesn't guarantee anything in terms of my advisory skills. So having growth drive and the growth drive community, I have learned I could have done better too. I wish I would have known then what I know now. So that's all part of the why am I doing this? And I did have some good interaction with Barry, and I think we've got a good group of questions I hope will be valuable for the summit.
David, after spending, I don't know, 45 minutes or so, give or take, on the phone with you, you bring a lot more than I think you realize.
Yeah.
The experience that you have in starting two businesses and exiting them both successfully, I think you bring a lot more than you really believe.
Amen.
I'm excited to do the interview, and I just wish that George would have added another 45 minutes to an hour. This is a topic that I think we could spend easily an hour to an hour and a half talking about.
You know what we'll do, guys? I thoroughly agree, Barry. Thank you. And
We have 2 pages of questions, George.
George, I volunteer your opening time for that.
Thank you so much, Mike.
And what I'll jump in and say this: what I really appreciated about Barry, our conversation, and more his questions, which I am thankful that he pulled this out, is that the focus is as much on what I could have done better, as much as this is just an opportunity for me to flex on everybody on how great I am. And don't you wish you could have exited like I did? He brings up a lot of great questions on, wow, if I would have thought through this, or had I had this person
and so that to me is the most valuable piece. Nobody wants to hear about how great I am, but what they, I think, would like to hear is what I could have done better and why what I'm doing, what we're doing as advisors really matters.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. He was able to draw, he will be able to draw some of that out in the questions.
But I just add, I've been doing this for 25 years and own my own firm for 16, right? 25 plus years and own my firm for 16. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to come because there's going to be things that, I'm going to learn and I'm going to get out of it. And just like you are, right? And the other thing I'd say is there in the wider world, I'm not talking about this call, I'm talking about the whole of not the community, but the whole of the United States, let's just say, or the business world. There's an awful lot of armchair quarterbacks, people who can say, here's what you should do, but they've never done it. And the biggest thing you have is you've actually been on the field and held the ball and had to throw it while 6 people are chasing you down the field trying to tackle you, right? You've actually been in the game. That changes your perspective than a lot of people out there who are trying to give advice. That's a great thing. It's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, and I actually see that. I actually understand that, and I, speaking like of EPI, I went to EPI and that was sort of my first event. There were like 1,000 people there, but there wasn't anybody like me there. They were all CFPs or coaches. And I'm like, where are the people who are actually doing the work? And so, I am passionate about it. I have a passion because I have had to make payroll and pay vendors and was in a
Yep.
very cap heavy business. I've had to transition in my son and all this stuff. And the training with the C3D and all the growth drive, it's like I feel like I'm really passionate about it, but I've got to be able to translate that into an effective value advisory firm. And I don't know how to, honestly, I don't know really how to do that. But
Right.
somebody like you who's been in it for 16 years, man, you're really important to me, especially at this stage in my
David, we need to talk anyway, because I spent the first 20 years in corporate America doing just like you are doing. And I find we'll talk about this one in Charleston, but being able to connect with people because you've sat in their seat and you felt their pain is way, way bigger than just knowing the skill set, right? That skill set is table stakes. Skill set is table stakes. We all have to be able to bring a skill set to be able to sit at the table, but you also have to be able to connect with the people that are there, and you got to actually understand and feel what they're feeling and be able to relate to them. And that's the big part. That's what gets you down the road further than just, I've got a great shiny new tool. Let me show you how my tool works.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And yes. And you guys, may I suggest that you end up in the same place for dinner? And by the way, Eric, there is a reservation at Brasserie Le Bac. That's your favorite. So, what's interesting is as I look around the room here, this is just going across the Hollywood squares from what I know from you guys. Mike Desiato ran a business, right? Don't pigeonhole that man as a CPA because he ran a firm, right? Mike Garrison ran a business. Teresa Galino has helped head a business. Eric, you were at the top of out in the big world, right? Joseph, I don't know, but you certainly run one of the most successful advisory businesses. Love your comments. Joe ran a business. David ran a business. Barry ran his own firm. We are all, lest we forget, we are all, and I'm sorry, there are a lot of us.
George, that's why I was very careful to say I wasn't referring to the community in that way. I'm just saying there are an awful lot of armchair quarterbacks out there that we all run into all the time.
And you make it a fantastic point. And you did something, I think subconsciously or maybe on purpose. You said we can't do this. And that is a point that I think we all get, because if we sit with a client and say, tisk, and here's what you need to do, they turn off.
Yeah.
I know I did as a
Like
CEO,
that.
they, they turn off.
No, and I was one of those. I couldn't stand, to be honest with you, and I'm come along, but I couldn't really stand, or that's not too strong. I don't have generally much respect for CFPs, and here's why. I felt like I I've taken all the risk. I've busted my butt. I've made all this money, and now you want to just take that money and tell me how to, sit on it and make money. And I understand it's necessary, but it's like, come on, dude. I know what it's like to have to grind it out and have the sleepless nights. And, the world there's too many CFPs in this world.
I could totally buttress that about CFPs because a designation does not mean competence.
And that's the third document we're going to share. I mentioned the advisor's pledge and the 1 to 5. The third is this 7-step process that we've described that'll probably evolve, but the 7-step process from discovering strategic intent through long-term for the long-term growing strategic capacity. And so that's the third document that goes to your point, Mike. Heck yes. Wow, great conversation, guys. All right. I'm going to pause a beat. Any questions, insights, other topics that are on people's minds?
Can I just add that I'm offended by Mike's post that I'm old?
That is a comment, not a post.
Observation,
which,
not introduction.
which proves that you're old.
There's no good news or bad news, Eric, only data.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Thank you for the confirmation.
George, I wanted to circle back to you on and I know you're probably not surprised I'm bringing this up, right? So I know you did the DCF calculation
Yes.
detail. I have questions about that, but we can take that offline. We can do it in a separate.
Great.
Yeah,
So-
so Mike had called me when we released the DCF calculation of value. Mike called and said, "Hey, man, I need to be able to, and you are representative of a significant section of this community. As a former professional numbers guy, I need to understand at least the discount rates and how the numbers work together, right? Without getting into the black box. And a DCF it's a well understood
Methodology.
Thank you. And so, Mike, happy to have that conversation. So, Mike had said, "Can we please show our work?" Remember, those of us would like they got the right answer, but they didn't show their work, so they got an F. And so, Mike is making that point. I need to be able to show the work. Totally cool. So, we actually published it. If you go into
That
value on the value page, it's down there on the range of value page. If you go down, that range of value page has become very sophisticated. Mike Garrison, please.
So first of all, I really like it when the data people tell me the data is right, so I don't have to worry about it. So thank you, Mike, in advance. Appreciate that because I'm not able to verify that. Hey, I just wanted to ask how everybody's doing on business. Is there anybody here who is struggling, needs new business, is looking for it?
always looking for new business, always.
Okay. If you guys wouldn't mind, I mean, it's up to you, but if you guys wouldn't mind posting that stuff in the community that, let us know where you're at, what you're trying to accomplish. That way, some of us who might be able to collaborate can reach out and sometimes we need to be reminded that you guys need help. That's all I'm saying. If that's not out of bounds, George.
Yeah. No, that's not out of bounds at all. Mike, if we do not connect with clients, right? You make the point, nothing happens. And this is one of my sayings, right? Nothing happens until you sell something. If we do not connect with clients in a meaningful way, then we cannot help them. And if we cannot help them, they're going to stay where they are, which is generally stuck. And we need to help. My vision and mission, 100%.
Yeah, it's just so critical because, when you look at the risks inherent in collaboration, which we're
Yes.
all aware of, that risk is not something you overcome in one conversation or one interaction. And so if you're in a position where you could use some help through helping other people, you got to sometimes remind us. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just in a good way. Just let
Yeah.
people know where you're at, let people know what you need. And then you help that process move along because it doesn't happen in one meeting or one conversation. There's no silver bullet. There's just kind of an accrual of awareness So I just want to encourage everybody because I've been there.
And we're about to demonstrate. So I stood on the main stage at the BEI conference and I wanted to educate the room about all of you, right? All of you. And we're about to have, Fletcher is coming in. He's a practitioner. He still works cases. He's also the CEO of BEI. And we're about to demonstrate to Fletcher what we do, who we are as a community. And I'm excited about that because I will tell you, looking out in the room with 100+ faces staring up, that there is genuine interest in trustworthy, quality assured professionals who are, and this is how I said it at BEI, who are not going to run amok in the engagement, right? And you guys are not going to run amok. You were senior pros. You understand the advisor's pledge. Anyone who's been through C3D, and the advisor's pledge is published in the community. It's very simple, right? I respect who you are. I honor the fact that you brought this client to the table. I'm going to communicate like a wild person. I'm never going to make you look bad in front of the client. This is just, you think it's table stakes, but 1 year ago, I stood in a room in Denver and had 30 of 32 people not put their hand up. And then Mike and I did it again at a workshop that Mike was running. And again, only 2 hands went up in the entire room of people who would introduce a growth advisor into their client. Why? Because we are not safe drive. We have a reputation of not being safe drivers. And we are going to show 10,000 people trained throughout their history. EPI currently is carrying a big load of wealth advisors. Fantastic. Well done. BEI invented exit planning and over their 25 years has trained 10,000 professionals. They have a big megaphone. And imagine the possibilities between these two communities. That's all I'd say. And I'm really excited because it furthers BEI's vision and mission and our vision and mission, and is very good for the clients to make these connections.
Yeah. Can you and
one thing
Fletcher
I'll
space out?
amplify there, George, that is at the BEI conference, the one thing that the attendees all said is, how do we get in contact with people that can help us? Because they don't have to necessarily be in our city as much as where do we find these qualified
Rick's point, yeah.
individuals? BEI limited the attendees to around 100 for their conference because they
Yep.
wanted to make sure people got well trained. And the conversations really went into growth drive as a need because they had a track on personal financial planning. And one of the big things in it was, what's the value of your business and how is that incorporated in your personal financial planning?
And how do we protect it using sophisticated planning and insurance products, which is
Exactly.
absolutely appropriate and something that we, by and large, making vast generalizations, but most of us do not do. But when you understand these sophisticated insurance products, and when your client truly understands them and doesn't just see someone sticking their hand out and saying, give me 20 grand, when they understand the power of those insurance products, and there is some sophisticated stuff out there, guys. So let's circle back. One of our sponsors, Madison Insurance Group, very, very cool. And there are going to be 5 of them in the room. These are top flight, and they are different than your typical. It's sort of color of captive insurance. But imagine if your client could insure 72 different risk factors about the business. Okay, and I'll let Madison talk about it. But 72, and then if you've never called on the premium, if you've never called on the policy, be able to get back over 90% of the premium, potentially get back, the attorney and me, potentially get back over 90% of the premiums that you've paid over time as an annuity. Hello, that's innovation, right? That is, and these are insuring against real risks, the things that actually, they're de minimis, but that keep me up at night. So there's some really cool things, and we're going to figure out how to make these links, guys.
Hey,
We are
George.
figuring out. Please, Mike.
Hey, whether you use an insurance company or not, you're always paying for insurance. You're either self-insuring against the risk or you're using an outside company. And that's where the Growth Drive financial planner, if you've got the right level of expertise between those two people, that's when you can start making intelligent decisions about resource allocation, because that's all the game is. You are insuring against risk. You're either self-insured or you're using a company. And that's
thought of
the
it that way, Mike.
conversation we
That's a
need
great
to
point.
lead in.
That's a great point.
To expand a little bit on what you were saying, I remember years ago, I spoke at the Illinois Financial Planning Association or something. And I asked a question to the audience, which there were about 20, 25 people in the room. How do they value the business for purposes of their financial planning? And the answers came back, well, I talked to the owner and I asked them what the business is worth. We value it at 0 or we get a valuation. None of those are the right answer, at least in my opinion. So it was just interesting, the feedback that was received from them. So we serve a very important element of their ecosystem. And I know, David, that you have sort of a tainted viewpoint, but at some point in time, they will become, in my opinion, your best friend, because
I do.
you get a lot of business from them over, that gap. And then with family businesses, I got most of my business from family business consultants that basically handle the behavioral issues, which just makes my skin crawl to have to talk about some of the behavioral issues. Because you have to know how far you can take it before you're in over your skis. And I've had some training in it, but it's a real tricky situation. So we serve a real valuable purpose to a valuable role to a lot of different professions.
And we're going to have some top flight wealth advisors in the room as well. And people who, what's cool, guys? There are going to be a lot of people in the room who aren't on this call, who are not hopefully yet growth drivers, who have not yet joined this community, but who have heard what we're saying or been told by a friend, you got to be there. And it's going to be super excited about this event. And what's really cool, we don't know what we're going to surface. We have an inkling, but we don't know what we're going to surface or where this will lead, because we're going to end with, okay, guys, what work do we need to do? Yeah, we're at the bottom of the hour. Bye, Barry. Okay. Any quick comments before we wrap up? Fabulous. Thank you very much, guys, for all of your input and insights. Any quick questions, comments before we jump off? Okay. I will see most of you, in a few days. Thank you very much. Watch your email inbox. Mike, I'm going to stay on with you. And everyone, I hope you have a
Welcome to
great
Rick.
rest of the week, and I can't wait to see you. Really excited.
Thanks for coming.
This episode is brought to you by the Growth Drive Summit. Our theme this year is building a profitable advisory business. Join us in Charleston, South Carolina, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. Expand your network, learn new skills, and generally have a good time. This is a top-rated event. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.